might be a storm in a select committee room, but National says changes to MP representation mean its ability to hold the new government to account is being compromised. Now, the number of MPs who will sit on select committees has been reduced, but the Leader of the House, Labour's Chris Hipkins, says that's because of an agreement all parties signed up to in the last Parliament. Now, select committees are cross-party groups of MPs that consider legislation, scrutinise the actions of ministers and government departments, and have the power to hold inquiries like the recent one into voluntary euthanasia, for example. Mr Hipkins told our political editor Jane Patterson all of the select committees have been rejigged so they can operate more effectively, a move backed by National.
They strongly supported this all the way through, and the recommendations of the Standing Orders Committee were made unanimously, and they were unanimously supported by the House when the report was reported to the House. So I think that we are best to keep following through with that process rather than trying to change things now.
Given the circumstances of the National Party having such big opposition numbers, you wouldn't think that that would be cause to reconsider that decision?
Well, look, we've looked at a variety of things that we can do to recognise that this is the first genuinely MMP parliament that we've had, in my view. So, for example, the size of the government and the size of the opposition are actually almost identical to what they were in the last parliament. In the last parliament, the governing parties had 63 seats and the opposition had 58. In this parliament, the government's still got 63 seats and the opposition's got 57, so 1 seat fewer than the opposition had in the last parliament. In the last parliament, the opposition chaired one select committee, had a deputy chair on one select committee and had one assistant speaker. We've offered the National Party the opportunity to chair 5 select committees, 5 deputy chairpersons, and to hold the position of deputy speaker. So we are recognising the fact that we want to see the opposition playing a greater role in the overall operations of the Parliament. We do think that the days when governments could just do what they liked and railroad over top of the opposition have to come to an end. But what the National Party seem to be asking for is a blank cheque to stop the government being able to govern, and I don't think any government would do that.
With the shift in numbers, is there going to be a challenge for Labour or the governing parties to always have a majority on those select committees?
Well, the reality is the government won't have a majority on more than half of the select committees. At this point, we're likely to have a majority on 4 out of the 12, and the other 8 select committees will be tied between the government and the opposition. So when the National Party start talking about increasing the number of select committees, it actually starts to become much more difficult for the government to keep even a break-even situation on select committees. So our view is that we're best to follow the unanimous recommendations of the Standing Orders Committee, which the National Party were represented on.
Given the fine balance and quite an unusual situation where you wouldn't command a majority on such a large number of committees, why would you offer them so many chair and deputy chair positions?
Well, we want select committees to function effectively, and we believe that the role of select committees is to scrutinise the government and hold the government to account. And we're fully prepared for the National Party to do that and to do that vigorously. We believe that will be healthy for democracy. It'll make us a better government. What we don't want them to do is to be deliberately obstructive, and so we've extended an awful lot of goodwill to the national opposition to say that we would like the Parliament to function effectively, and we certainly would like to work with them to make that happen.
That's the Leader of the House, Labour's Chris Hipkins, talking to our political editor, Jane Patterson.